Thank you for joining us today for another exclusive interview sponsored by Imuvet. Help your horses reach their maximum potential with Imuvet's line of natural homeopathic products. I'm your host today, Aurelian Drumian. Today we are joined by Max Whitby, one of the original and enduring slot holder in the Everest, Australia's richest and most influential sprint race. As he prepares to go all in on Briasa for the 2025 edition, we'll discuss what makes this grey stand out his peak, how his strategy has evolved over 8 years, and why he remains one of the few still standing from the inaugural group. From near misses to big dreams, insights on selecting Everest contenders, and reflections on how the race has changed Australian racing forever. This is an unmissable conversation with one of the sport's most passionate and persistent figures. Well, Max, great to have you here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
So tell me a bit more, why Briasa? Like, what makes the horse perfect, for your Everest horse?
Well, in real terms in Australia, the sprinting group of horses is quite strong. And we started looking a year ago, and this horse ratings at 114, which is one of our major rating levels. And speed is imperative. Strategy for this horse, he can run on both surfaces. He has explosive last 200 metres, which is imperative for a race like this.
Fair enough. And when you bought the slot, it was famously, to support New South Wales against Victoria. But 8 years on, is that still the case?
Under the surface, things have calmed down considerably. But at the end of the day, it was an initiative by New South Wales, which was rejected basically out of hand in Victoria. But peace has prevailed. I wish the peace could be the same in the Middle East. But in real racing terms, things have calmed down considerably. The Victorians or the Southerners have accepted that this is the richest race in the world, and they've tinkered with their prize money with great respect. And consequently, I think the world's a better racing, and the world's a better place for everyone to calm down.
For sure. Looking around at your fellow slot holders now versus, 2017, you're part of a very exclusive club of originals who stayed the course. What separates those who remain committed from those who sold out or walked away?
Well, obviously, I'm very proud to be a foundation slot holder. For sure. I've said in the past, a lot of the major racing groups in the country and the world said it won't work as a concept. I backed Peter V'landys in Racing New South Wales, who's probably the most dominant sports administrator in Australia, and I'd say be right up there amongst world leaders of sporting administration, because he also runs another major sporting instrument in Australia called Rugby League, which we won't get into that just now because we're talking horses. But Peter, he showed faith in the industry. We showed faith in him. Some of the big names didn't, and subsequently they've learnt their lesson. And they've had to come in and negotiate. And but you look at the makeup of the list of slot holders today, they're probably the leading operators in the world. And consequently, I'm pretty happy for a little fellow like me to be an independent inaugural slot holder. There it is. That's no more, no less.
That's amazing. Having watched, every Everest from the inside, what patterns have you identified in Everest winners that maybe, the general public might miss?
Well, it's become a very, very exciting race for the public. They get tens and tens of thousands of people at the races now. Racing crowds around the world have diminished and diminishing quickly. Subsequently, what Racing New South Wales with the Everest is just explosive. So you've got a new set of eyeballs, and particularly it's the younger community, which means maybe they're not so wise to the things of racing, but they're definitely wise to the enthusiasm of winning, speed, colour and noise. So I think the only difference, if I've been at this for 40 years, is it's the spirit of the people that attend. And if they look for traits, I think they look for leaders, colours, noise, atmosphere.
Excellent. Has your selection criteria, evolved based on learnings over the past 8 years?
Not really. As I say, I've been at it a long time. Speed, bloodlines, not necessarily important. They've come from everywhere. Not really. I've got a sense, we've got a feel,
Sure.
negotiating. I haven't had a horse that I own and can race, so it's easy to negotiate with yourself. In this case, we've had to negotiate with other parties that own horses. That's been a little bit difficult. It was very easy in the early days. It's got harder. We always felt we had more control of the race as slot holders, but it's now turned to the owners of the horse. They seem to have in racing terms, the whip hand. They have more control of the negotiations, which I don't like. But if you look at the makeup of who's got the slots, that's another story. So it's self-explanatory, basically.
I don't know. What do you look for when you select, the one for the Everest?
Oh, speed. No more, no less. Speed.
Oh, wow. The speed, most.
Finishing pace. As I said before, the last 200 metres is imperative. We have our Golden Slipper, which is probably one of the best sprint races in the world, at 1,200 metres. They go like the bang. They hit the gate and they fly. Everest is a bigger race, so consequently you need to position yourself better. So speed and that last 200 metres is what I'll emphasise as a response to your question.
Perfect. And you must have a dozen of trainers, approaching you each year with compelling presentations for your Everest slot. What was it specifically about Briasa that made you think, that might be the one, or this is the one?
Well, the Hawkes family, headed by John Hawkes, of course, is a household name in racing in Australia, if not the world. His pedigree and experience in racing is above others. He had a horse that we saw very early, and we said, John, let's start to move forward. And consequently, Neil Werrett, my racing partner, has a strong historical relationship with the Hawkes family. We started negotiations early, and I think we were the second horse to be selected this year. So, yes, they ring, they touch, but once it's in the market, and we went early, so once they know we're committed, they stop ringing. But yes, they do ring. People are always looking where, what, and next.
For sure. People are always looking, exactly. That's very true.
Yeah.
And 8 years on, do you still hope to see a horse, that you breed in the winner's circle? Or is it about, finding any winning horse and why?
Well, it's interesting you ask that question, because this year, all being well, as you know, you may know that our racing season finishes in another 48 hours, and our racing season starts August the 1st.
Sure.
So our 2-year-olds be turned into 3-year-olds. And you'll find that the Everest historically has been a late 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old winner. Next year, I have a horse this year, which is a 2-year-old, which will be a 3-year-old in 48 hours, who's called Cool Archie, who's won 5 straight. And we hope to be the 2-year-old of the year in Australia. That's very exclusive news to you and your program.
Sure.
Cool Archie is my horse, which I own 100%.
Oh my, wow.
And consequently, on the 31st of August, 1 month's time, or 32 days' time, we have the national awards for the best 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, inductees, Hall of Fame. And all being well, my 2-year-old will be the 2-year-old of the year, because this horse has won from 1,000 metres to 1,600 metres on 2 bog heavy tracks and 3 good tracks, won a Group 1, 2 black types, 5 races in a row as a 2-year-old in his first preparation. So, to answer your question, I think I may have my own Everest horse next year, because this guy, I'll repeat, has won from 1,000 metres to 1,600 metres in all wet and dry conditions. So I'm excited.
I bet.
Cool.
How did you manage to get to own this horse?
Well, that's a good story in itself. So Cool Archie is the grandson of a famous stallion in Australasia called Savabeel. And his son is called Cool as the Beel. So my horse, Cool Archie, who I named after my youngest grandson, Archie, is Cool Archie. So I owned and raced Savabeel that won the Cox Plate, and is recognised, as I said, one of the great stallions in Australia for the last 20 years. Consequently, this is the grandson.
That's amazing.
And the jockey that rode Savabeel is the trainer of Cool as the Beel now.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I've had this long relationship for 30-odd years. Trainer, jockey, trainer, owner, consistent. Let's go.
Wow.
Archer next year, 26.
It's like a full family right there.
Absolutely. Stay posted.
Beautiful, for sure, for sure. So as you mentioned, Sabil gave you a Cox Plate and became, a champion stallion.
Yes.
How does Briasa compare? And what similarities do you maybe see in that, intangible X factor?
Well, there's none. Savabeel's a staying horse. This is a sprint race. But I've got to just mention, Cool as Archie, he can win a race from 1,000 to a mile. So he fits that brief. But there's no comparison. And obviously, looking back, Savabeel he actually won an 1,100 metre race, first race, but his work was always over 14, 16 to a mile, and then obviously 2,040 metres, 2,000, 2,500 metre type races. So it's a different type of horse. But, John Hawkes and the owners, I wish them best of luck. And obviously, as a slot holder, and that's my horse, we're all optimistic.
For sure, as you should.
Yes.
And to come back to Bressa, so he's a bit of another gray sprinter, being prepared, for the Ox team, just like Shotoka was. Do you see any similarities again between those two horses?
I think this horse is sounder. I think it could probably move on to race at longer distances as well, which means he's a staying type, but he's got speed, and we're bought him for speed. And you have to finish, as I've said a few times in a few of your questions, you've got to be able to finish this you win this race in the last 200 metres. They can fight, they can be close or they run away. And I think the last 200 metres, I think this horse can finish like that. And obviously the Hong Kong horse has a great finishing pattern, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I think this is the right horse, hence we've taken this horse as our slot.
Excellent. And so for you, the speed is definitely the most important. You mentioned that several times.
Absolutely correct.
And with horses like Kaying Rising dominating, the early betting, what's your view on home track advantage versus, bringing in a globally rated horse?
Well, I like the way you phrased the question, because that's exactly what you have to look at. This horse has to travel.
Sure.
He has to come down to what we call A grade. He races in a certain jurisdiction. He's outstanding times, but the different racing conditions. So, obviously, I'm a very proud Australian. I'm a very proud New South Welshman. Our race is in New South Wales. And away we go. So, come to my town, we'll see.
That's a fair point.
That's all I can say.
For sure.
So we think we can beat the horse. There you go.
For sure.
Obviously, we tried to negotiate with Hong Kong, but that was a very hard set of negotiations.
Always a bit of negotiation indeed.
Yeah, and of course, it's been selected by the racing precinct in Sydney, the ATC, which is, in my eyes, has got a few problems, but that's beside the point. They don't race for the same spirit that we race in. As slot holders, we put our hard-earned $700,000 up. That's water off the duck's back for an organisation like them. And they sort of don't have to do the deals that we do. They like the prestige of winning their race for their brand. Whereas our brand is we're just individuals, and we just, we race for the spirit of what we're doing. But that's half a political statement for me. But at the end of the day, they've got probably the fastest horse in our region. But come to town, we'll see how we go.
I like this. Good answer. You brought in partners, for your Everest slot. How do you
Yeah.
navigate the decision-making process when there are so many multiple, high-profile owners involved?
Well, very simply because when the concept came up, I just had a real strong sense it was right. I got involved immediately. My major racing partners, Neil Werrett of famous Black Caviar, he owned and controlled the syndicate of Black Caviar. He's a lovely man, great mate of mine. We've been mates for 20 odd years. And he said, well, why aren't I in it? I went, well, you're welcome to be in it. And it sort of grew from there. And then his great racing partner in Victoria is a great mate of mine. He's sort of now a beautiful, great man in my life, Colin Madden, and he's involved. And they had a business colleague from their interest in the stud in the Hunter, and Stephen McCann, and now I'm down to a quarter. So this is about racing with passion, racing with friends, racing with the spirit. They're real good quality guys. They meet their obligations. They were late to the party. I was first to the party. Yeah, welcome to my party, so to speak. But they're great people to deal with, and I'm very proud to be associated with them, particularly Neil and Colin, because we race a lot of horses together in other spheres. Mind you, they don't own anything, don't own any part of Kulachi. He's all mine. So
That's true.
next year's negotiations will be interesting. How do I negotiate with myself
For
and
sure.
my partners?
It
Well,
makes it much easier to be the full owner of the horse.
no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
You've come very close twice, as both a businessman
Yes.
and a punter. How do you mentally handle those near misses?
Well, as we say in racing, as I'm getting on in years, another tick's nice and another result's nice. The money's great, and I respect everything's associated with the financial part of the business, but, winning's important. Doing it with your mates is important. Great for the horse, good for everybody. What can I say? I go into those meetings not sometimes very nervous, sometimes very calm. And right now, with whatever we are out 8 weeks out, I'm pretty calm. So we'll see. The pressure will come when the Hong Kong course arrives, and when the media starts and everyone starts banging away. It's interesting because the jockey Zach Purton is a great friend of mine because he comes from New South Wales and he's blowing all the lights out, as you're probably aware, without me telling you what's going on in the world. So he rang pretty quick. He said, "Get this horse, Max." I said, "Well, mate, I'll do my best," but that didn't pan out. But so Zach's interesting. I'm great to have him back. He's going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year too, in the end of August. That's beside the point. But Zach's a great guy, good country guy. Went up there, made a fortune, made his name. So I'm very proud to have him as a competitor.
Amazing. You seem to be more
Zach Purton.
interested at the end, in of the work and the family aspect and the connection rather than,
Yes.
I mean, winning is nice, I can imagine,
Money's
but
nice, yeah. Money's great. Like $20
exactly.
million, that's a big ticket, the big figure. It's not. I'm not being frivolous about that, but it costs a lot to run your business too.
Of course.
I run 80, 90 horses and got 50 mares or something, 50 mares and yearlings in the paddock. So it costs a lot to run a business. So it's it's nice to get the check. I'm not giving it away because it pays the bills, so to speak. Yeah.
But the
But racing
relationship
with your
with the
mates.
people working and
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure is one of the most interesting aspect, of course,
that's correct.
of this industry as well. Excellent. The Everest has clearly changed, over the years how the industry prepares spring horses. How has this race transformed Australian racing beyond just prize money?
Yeah, I guess so. It's profiled Australia. It's profiled racing New South Wales.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it's profiled, everything associated with Australia. Lifestyle, enthusiasm, optimism, positiveness, young people, sun, surf, the whole scenario. So it just goes hand in hand with Australia. And to be able to say you're the richest race in the world on grass, that's pretty not bad for, the land down under. I'm very proud to be an Aussie, and I'm very proud for the racing industry in Australia.
I bet. How are you adapting to the new evolution of the industry and the changes that happens, especially, with technology and all that it has to
Yeah,
face?
it's coming along. From my perspective, it's coming along a lot slower than I thought.
Okay, wow.
Like, well, photo finishes originated in New Zealand and perfected in Australia many, 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 many years ago. I think it's back in the 20s or just after the war. Now I think about it, and consequently, we've been leaders in technology for photo finishes. Let someone question to prove me wrong, but I think I'm 100% right. But at the end of the day, what's happening now, it doesn't appear to me, even as an older bloke, there's a couple of things that drive me a little bit crazy, and the technology doesn't seem to be as fast for the consumer, e.g. the owner, the race goer. Things like these whip rules and how many times horses been whipped on the way, and you've got these restrictions, and some interpretations might be different in other jurisdictions in Australia than they are here. Feature races are treated a little bit differently from other races, and you stand there at the fence watching races, you've got no idea, and in a close finish, maybe a protest, maybe not a protest, using the whip rule as an example, because you can't see that on the screen. That horse was whipped 55 times, 15 times, no times, was shown the whip as distinct from whip, and then bing, 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 the next thing is a protest. So there's my clearest example about I can't see technology in Australia catching up on a historical basis. What they see in the stewards' room and what other precincts in the world, I don't know if it's any better, but basically that would be my first thing to say to respond to your question. How's the technology changing? I haven't seen much change in technology.
Interesting. Very interesting answer.
Different
Yeah.
jurisdictions, well, you get overhead cameras, you get the front on, you've got to wait for, only trouble before you see your head on all the time. There's not consistency with technology, and I think we're a little bit behind the world.
Wow. Interesting. And at this stage of your career, an Everest win would complete the set, obviously. If Briasa delivers in October, how would that rank among your life's achievements?
You just cut out me. Sorry, then, pardon. Just
Oh,
say
sorry,
it again.
just just the internet. So I was just saying, on to the last question, actually. At this stage of your career, an Everest win would completely complete the set. If Brazil delivers in October, how would that rank among your life's achievements?
Well, like in racing terms, it'd be great. It'd be right up there. But I can't go any further back to what I've just talked about. My good 2-year-old, Cool Archie,
Well, that's
3-year-old in 2 days. He's to win 5 races in a row. That's pretty good.
that's amazing.
He's won a couple of $1 million, so that's pretty good as well. And he's done it as a 2-year-old. Bang, bang, bang. But to answer your question specifically, to win an Everest would be outstanding, and it'd be another cherry on the little pie of life.
Yeah. Excellent. Beautiful. And then more to come with that new 2-year-old of yours. That's amazing.
Cool, Archie.
Very
Let's go.
promising.
I hope we have this conversation this time next year.
Beautiful. For sure. For sure. Hopefully we'll catch up with you next year and lots of wins.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Max, for coming
My
for the interview
pleasure.
today. That was great.
Good luck.
Excellent.